Are we good to go, Gary?
You are ready. Thank you.
Sounds great. Hey, everybody, it's Jennifer Weber, and we're all going to kind of participate in this. I do want to start out with just a couple things. A lot of people have been asked, are we paying claims pretty much as normal since we're teleworking? And yes, we are. We've paid some by teleworking already. It wasn't a huge amount because it was towards the end of the month, but we did a practice round. Barring any glitches, we will continue to pay as normal. But keep in mind, if we have a glitch one week, we will pay the next week, and we do regulatory wise have 45 days to pay claims, but we don't anticipate that being an issue at all. So don't worry about that. The other thing is, as a reminder, for claiming all meals prior to spring break. So what you were doing in your normal, whatever normal is anymore, National School Lunch, School Breakfast, those need to be claimed like you always would under the National School Lunch option in the CAR system. Any meals since you've been closed for COVID-19 and are serving on the Seamless Summer option need to be claimed under SSO Seamless Summer option. We have emailed out, I believe more than once, the instructions for that and what to do. It has screenshots and it has instructions. Are those posted in CARs, Cassie? Okay, we'll make sure those get posted in CARs, and once they are, we will let you all know that. Also, those schools that are approved currently and are serving meals, supper, and snack under at-risk, keep in mind that program is only through the normal school year, even with the distance learning. So once your school district stops the distance learning, which the State Board of Education approved that to happen between May 8th and 15th, those meals currently, as we're being told by USDA, will need to stop as well. But you can still continue on SSO or summer feeding. But the at-risk, what we're being told right now, we have a daily call with USDA, and this is what they told us this morning. For now, they need to plan on stopping those. But if something changes, we will give you that information as quickly as we receive it. Okay, so we have a few other, we'll periodically check the chat box, and if we don't get them all answered during this time, we will go through and make sure that the ones that didn't get answered, we email them out to you all so you have your answers. USDA has issued 11 nationwide waivers. Now keep in mind, they're not blanket waivers. Some of them require us as a state agency to request information from you. For example, the parent pickup, the waiver of a meal pattern, vegetable or milk or something. Those have to be approved, and the area consultants are handling those for you. So your normal child nutrition area consultant that you deal with, please reach out to them for this information as far as what we need from you. The meal pattern waiver one, I'll just talk a few bullet points we have on this, is we're getting a lot for vegetables right now. We've been told by multiple vendors that we have reached out to that they are able to get you the vegetables you need. Now, that being said, we realize that bagged carrots are in high demand right now. None of those vendors, when we reached out to them, and I believe we reached out to 6 or 7, were out of bagged carrots. And they don't anticipate being out. Do they run low at times? Yes, they are. But USDA has directed us on our call this morning that in order for us to be able to grant that waiver for a vegetable or a meal pattern requirement, you all have to have exhausted all of your options. So just because maybe Cisco doesn't have them, and I'm not calling anybody out, I'm just using as an example, maybe US Food might have them, or maybe Tankersley or Go Fresh, and I'm not targeting any one vendor by any means because we've been told they're not out. But we have a directive from our regional office that all options have to be exhausted before we're allowed to approve a waiver for that. So yes, unfortunately at this time, I know how busy you are. Dana's been in your shoes. She knows how busy you are, and we are very busy as well up here. That is an extra step, but if you're wanting that waiver, you have to do your due diligence, checking with everyone before we can approve it. What else? Let's see. Do we have anything yet?
Okay, we have a question on the problem with serving vegetables isn't that we can't get them, it's that we can't serve beans and potato salad because we can't find containers that seal. That's the when we asked on our USDA call this morning, actually the containers are not the component. So the meal waiver is for the component, not the containers.
Food product.
So, serving beans, and even the call, they said they understand, serving legumes is an issue, but if you can get them, we're going to have to be creative on how to figure out how to serve them. Do I know how I would have served them if I was still in your shoes? Nope, I don't. Haven't figured that one out. Potato salad, of course, potato salad, maybe not the vegetable you want to serve. I see here another question, even without bagged carrots, they have them in, that's true, they have them in bigger quantities, so maybe you may have to bag the carrots yourselves. And we've talked about, had several on milk. We're telling you, if you can't get milk in the normal fat-free skim milks, that if you can find milk in the higher fat content, you can serve that milk. Just make sure you have that component covered one way or the other. Red orange, I know red oranges are hard to find, but keep in mind there are other red oranges. There's red peppers, there's tomatoes. Tomatoes come in many different flavors. The little Roman tomatoes, the grape tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. So you may have to utilize some of them. Sweet potatoes, maybe just a sweet potato stick. They don't necessarily have to be cooked. Potatoes don't have to be cooked to serve. You go back to what you're serving, fresh fruit and vegetable program, you don't cook any of those vegetables and you send them out. So I'm trying to look for questions right now just on the meal patterns. So we have one, can we serve food that needs to be heated by the family, like a cold hamburger as an example? What we're advising, if you're gonna send out cold things that need to be reheated, that you get with your health department, make sure they're okay with it, plus send heating or cooking instructions on making sure that food is kept refrigerated until it's cooked. Just be as detailed as you can with that to ensure food safety is being maintained when you're sending out things to be cooked. But yes, you're gonna have inventories that, you're gonna be wanting to get used up. Reach out to the commodities. I know Gina and Chet are working with their program to get foods out. So if you haven't reached out to the commodity people, reach out to them to see, especially on the frozen fruit cups that you can get. That is a easy way to do that. Maybe you can get some extra POW dollars, change some things, switch some things around amongst yourselves, but make sure you let commodities know what you're doing if it's a commodity product. Okay, and then someone has said the summer food service meal patterns are simpler. Yes, that is an option if you want to go to the summer food service program.
It's a longer application process as well, and none of that regulatory paperwork has been waived. They're not waiving any of that paperwork currently. So the process to apply for summer feeding is a bit longer and more involved than the seamless summer option. But as someone did post on that chat, you don't have to meet the subgroups. That's exactly right. You'd be following the summer meal pattern, and the reimbursement rate is higher in summer feeding. But keep in mind that you have to apply, you have to be approved, and you have and if you haven't participated in the last couple of years, there's some additional paperwork that would have to be done. And again, unfortunately, that hasn't been waived. The SSO reimbursement rate is what you're receiving, the free rate for the National School Lunch Program. And right off the top of my head, I believe it's $3.41.
Plus the 7 cents.
Yes.
And if you are severe need breakfast, you get the severe need rate on your breakfast. If you're regular breakfast,
$2.20,
you get the regular amount.
Which is
if you are not sure if you're severe need breakfast or regular breakfast, look in your regular claim site, and it should show you, because in the seamless summer claim, you're going to have to know if you are severe need or not to be able to put your claim in correctly. Okay, someone's asked if there is a statewide stay-at-home order, will we be able to continue to serve meals? My understanding is yes, you are considered essential at this time. We'll get the exact seamless summer rate here in just a minute. I think Cassie's looking that up.
It's okay, we'll get it. We'll get it before we
Yeah,
end,
we'll get
but
it
it's the same as your national school lunch.
And then the question under summer feeding, can you send the meals home too? I've already completed my application for summer. Yes, the waiver for the non-congregate feeding was approved for the summer feeding program also. So if you're going to transition from seamless summer to your summer feeding, you'll need to let us know, and you'll need to discuss that with Dee Houston, our summer food service program coordinator. Okay, Jennifer has the rates. She's going to read you the rates for the summer programs.
Oh wait, do you want seamless or did you want summer feeding? I'm sorry.
Seamless summer.
Seamless summer rate, free rate is $341. And free breakfast is $184 unless you receive the severe need breakfast rate, and that's $2.20. That is for seamless summer. Okay, do we have?
Okay. What if your district is a mix of severe need breakfast and regular breakfast?
Because it's by site.
They're doing it by site, so.
They're submitting their seamless summer claim by site. Yeah. So it depends on the site that you're submitting it for. So if your site's severe need, you would enter that. It would get the severe need rate. If you have a site that's not severe need breakfast, you would not get the severe need breakfast rate. It's the way you enter it into the SSO claim by site. Okay. Somebody asked about starchy.
Any other starchy vegetable components? Our starchy vegetables are corn, green bananas, green peas, green lima beans. We pulled the page right out of the manual. Black-eyed peas, breadfruit, water chestnuts, white potato products. You could send home frozen French fries and let them bake them in the oven. You could you go pick up to-go meals and they have French fries already cooked and you take them home. So if you got them wrapped in foil or in some type of to-go container, you could do that. Okay, we got more questions coming in than I can.
The summer feeding breakfast rate, it depends if you're rural self-prep versus other, but if you're rural self-prep, Dan, you have the right amount in there, 2.3750 for breakfast. Lunch, rural self-prep rate is 4.1525. Other sites, it drops a little bit from that, but not drastically.
Okay, here's a good question on the 50% for your reduced waiver. How long will we be able to operate under this waiver? Through the end of school or through the summer? The answer is till June 30th, 2020, or until the COVID-19 pandemic is over.
And if it ends earlier than June 30th deadline, it ends when that ends. They have not extended it past June 30th as far as the waivers go at this point. If that changes, of course, we will let you know.
Correct. Where did we say to go determine if we were severe need breakfast? It's in your application and agreement in CARS. And when you submit a claim, I'm trying to picture what the claim looks like. It should say severe need breakfast on CARS.
He sent a picture.
Yeah,
Thank you.
if you're approved for severe need breakfast, your panel will be open and the title on it where you enter your breakfast meal counts will say severe need breakfast.
Okay, Cassie's telling me in CARS under the claiming system, when you enter your breakfast, if your panel says severe need breakfast for that site, then that site has been approved for severe need breakfast. If it says regular breakfast, then that site is regular breakfast.
They could also refer to their application.
I was gonna say, I think it's in the application also,
Schedule C.
Schedule C.
Right.
Okay,
Let
Nope.
me reiterate the waiver deadline. I apologize. The meal pattern waiver is actually April 30th of
Okay.
2020, or until the expiration of the federally declared public emergency, health emergency, whichever is earlier. So I apologize for that. It is April 30th for the meal pattern waiver.
9 waivers with 9 different dates.
11 waivers.
11 waivers. Yeah. Some of them are we
June
haven't.
30th.
Yeah.
Some of them are April, but yeah, it's a lot to keep up with, and we know that you all realize that too, and we appreciate grace that you're giving us. We're trying to do the best with you guys as well.
Here's a good question on mobile feeding sites. When you do the claim for severe need or regular breakfast, it's going to be whatever you're going to put those meals. If you're running like a bus route and we didn't do a new site for that bus route because we didn't go in and add 200 application or sites for you, we called it the bus route site. Whichever site you're prepping that at, that's where you want to put those meals. Those meals need to stay attached to the site they're coming out of. If that doesn't answer your question on that, let us know. When you say through summer, is this the end of June or July? Right now, the waivers we have put up in cars under the other documents under COVID-19 on the panel. And those are in there. So those dates we will make sure we look at.
So far, the only one that has an April date is the meal pattern one. The
Okay,
rest of them are June 30th.
Jennifer just looked through the dates. The only date that expires April 30th so far that she's found is the meal pattern. All the rest of the dates are running through June 30th. So yes, we're going to be giving grace. We're asking for grace and going to be giving you guys grace. It's a time we've never ever been through. So someone asked, when we are doing SSO, we are serving breakfast and a snack. What is the snack reimbursement rate?
For which program?
For Seamless Summer, it's going to be the same as your national school lunch snack,
94 cents.
94 cents.
For summer feeding, rural or self-prep is 0.9775. Or other types of sites is 0.9550. Several of you, we will be coming out with, they've issued a waiver as far as CEP information and deadlines. And normally we tell you to pull your April data right at the very beginning of April for your CEP if you're looking at going CEP next year or reestablishing or potentially going into a grace year. You can now pull your data and enrollment anytime between April 1st and June 30th, but it has to be within that time frame, and that's your direct cert data. And go ahead, whenever you decide to pull it, you need to make sure you print an enrollment for that same time frame. This will be going up on cars too if it's not already there. If you aren't sure if you want to do CEP yet, normally you have to let us know that by June 30th. That has been extended to August 31st. So those are two pretty important dates for you. Just making you aware. I know that's probably not all on your radar quite yet, but it could be. Don't panic about not being able to pull it right there at the April date that we normally let you know. You have some grace with that as far as when you can pull it, but please pull an enrollment form at the same time.
Okay, and someone asked, I thought the meal pattern waiver has not been approved. Did I miss something? The state have been issued the meal pattern waiver to in turn send it to you. But that's why we have to have our processes, and your individual consultants are getting your meal pattern waivers from the school district, and they are the ones approving or disallowing those meal pattern waivers at this point. And someone wanted to know if I could repeat about the meal site prep. When we was talking about the meal site preps is when where you're going to claim the meals. So if you're prepping out of the elementary school and then that site is the one that's transporting the meals, putting them on the bus and transporting them to all your stops, that's the site you're going to use as the claim for that bus route.
Unless if we did create you a whole separate site, just like some of you have a mobile site, and we group those all together, you'll see where when you go into claims, just like you would any of your other accredited sites, that site will appear. We have somewhere we've inserted just a site for a park or a town hall. It just depends on how we did your application and what we grouped together. So if you have questions about where you need to claim meals for these non-accredited sites, reach back out to the person who approved your application, because that we have it noted in the applications what needs to be claimed where. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I hope it makes sense to you guys. And remember, we'll take all your questions. Gary will be able to capture all of our questions that everyone's putting in. And there's some that we don't answer, or, you still have a question after the call, at that time, please feel free to reach out to us again. But like Cassie said, you may reach out to whoever approved your application to see if they actually added a non-accredited site in the application system, or if they just put it into the question number 7 on the application, and we're going with it as kind of an add-on. That's what I would call it. It's an add-on to your existing site. Somebody said, what if we are serving way more than if you applied and you said you were going to serve 200 breakfasts and 200 lunches and you're just kicking it out of the park, don't really worry about it. Those numbers aren't like summer feeding that we have to go back and approve the number that, you say you're going to serve. So at this point, those are not tied to the claims or anything. What should we do? What should cafeteria staff be doing to protect themselves from COVID-19? You guys have seen all the news, wearing gloves, don't touch your face, wash your hands. Those normal things is about all you can do. Of course, if there is a cafeteria worker that's sick, COVID-19 or not, you guys need to be letting your administration know that. You need to be letting the health department know that. So if there's a possibility someone has been exposed, you can let your communities know what's going on. Okay, our next question, do all bus stops have to be entered as a non-accredited sites? I think we thought we would do that when we first started, and then we realized you weren't just stopping at a bus stop, you were stopping at individual houses and dropping off. So no, we're just putting all those addresses into that question number 7. How long can you be on seamless summer? The waivers are good through June 30th, and then the seamless summer can run up until school starts back in August.
You do not have to switch to seamless. You don't have to leave seamless summer if you don't want to. Seamless summer is an option to take you through the entire summer if that's how long you want to serve.
However, you cannot apply for July and August yet, because
That's a true statement.
some of you have requested access to the July-August period, but the one you're requesting is for last year. So we have to wait until the application rolls over for 2021, and at that time you'll be able to fill that out. So don't panic. We're trying to get a head start on getting that pushed out a little earlier than normal, so you guys can have that set in place if you need it.
Okay, and then our question is, do you have to have actual address stops or just a district map showing the stop? We really need.
We've taken either way, as long as, and I'm interrupting, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But some have provided addresses. And
It's hard to hear, Cassie. Okay, I was wondering about that.
some
Cassie?
have provided addresses, and some have literally drawn us maps with every single stop on it or the route that the bus takes. As long as we can identify where these vehicles are taking the meals, that will work.
if you didn't hear her, she said either way, if you can send us a map and have it dotted of all your bus stops, that'll work. If you send us a bus route that just says, here's my bus route, and you've listed, 1, 2, 3 Main Street, 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street, 1, 2, 3, 7 Main Street, we will take that. Just let us know where those stops are going to be. And now, since the 50% regulation has been waived, if you had some of those sites and they were not approved, reach out to that person who was working on your application and make sure they go in and approve those if you are going to start serving out of those sites. Okay, our next question, do we need the amount of meals served for each mobile site? Not necessarily. If you're going to prep it and send it out on the bus route, you do not need a check off for each time that bus stops. You can just have a meal count for the bus stop, just one meal count on that bus and hand out those meals. Do we have to put specific times on a bus route? No, not a specific times. We're going to be delivering from 11 to 1. So we're not going to, we don't need to know exactly what time the bus got to the Main Street address. So that's up to you guys. But for our application, just your general serving time and what time you should be finished. Make it as non-generic as possible. Okay, I'm going to scan back up here and see if we have missed any. You guys are asking great questions, and just know that we applaud you guys here at the State Department, knowing the work that you guys are doing out there in the field. We've seen your Facebook post and your the news reports. I saw one on channel, I'm not sure what it was, when I was eating lunch. Putnam City had a news report of people picking up the meals. Just, you guys are doing a great job. One question, how do we apply for the waivers? You will need to contact your consultant, and they have some information to give you and what they need to approve those waivers.
I just got an email with a good question, and I want to back up a little bit because we discussed those numbers in your seamless summer application. Your estimates aren't necessarily tied to the claim, but that's not the case for your CACFP if you participate in at risk. So you will need to go in, and that's what we're asking every school that is going to participate in at risk right now. We're going to have to update your CACFP application, and where you enter your meal times, that's where you need to adjust those maximum number of meals. And it might be hard right now to put in there because you'd have to put, I don't know, but all I know is you will have to make those adjustments in CACFP, and those applications don't have to be unlocked. You have the ability to go in and update CACFP applications at any time. I would just recommend that once you do that, reach out to us and let us know so we can get it approved again.
Okay, so questions come in, clarification on whether we need to collect names of daily participants from parents. If you are applying for the parent waiver for parents or guardians, and the waiver specifically says parents or guardians have to pick up the meals for their children, you have to ensure some way that you're not sending out duplicate meals, and that you are ensuring accountability and program integrity. We would suggest you keep a roster of the students that are in your building so that if a parent's picking them up, you could mark that roster, and that way you would know if the parent came up, mom came and picked up the meals for Jim and Joe, and then dad showed up 5 minutes later to pick up meals for Jim and Joe. You've already got them marked on the roster and say, I'm sorry, my parent's already been here to pick up those meals. Now, cross sites, just like in summer feeding or any other, unless you've got some kind of system that, you know, if you're at two different sites, you're gonna have duplicates at that. And we can't police that, and neither can you guys. You guys will just, you know, can only do what you can do. Should be processing household free and reduced applications that come in online or in the mail? No, not for seamless summer. And since you're not in school, I would not worry about any free and reduced applications at this point in time. What if we don't have a PO for a vendor to get vegetables? Get with your accounts payable person or whoever does your purchase orders for your school district and tell them you may need some quick turnaround POs approved, because you may need a PO approved Monday morning to get some vegetables. That's a great question. But yes, you guys still do have to follow your regular requirements. What are the main differences to weigh before determining whether or not to switch to summer food service program or stay with SSO? If you're I would just say, if you've ran summer feeding program in the past and you're in good standing here with the state and your application is already in and waiting for D to approve it, then that may be an easy transition. If you've never applied for the summer food service program, I would highly recommend you stay with Seamless Summer, because the application is a lengthy application and it takes some time. And so
Make sure they have your May and June application.
on your Seamless Summer, if you have been approved for the March and April, you have to go back in and apply for the May and June if you're going to continue serving meals in May. Someone asked about bidding. No, right now I think the bidding process, and you're not going to be spending over the $10,000. So just make sure micro purchasing is in your plan and use micro purchasing. Will you be posting these questions and answers later for us to access? We will try to come up with a frequently asked question and put some of these questions in with our answers as best we can, and then put those in cars under the COVID-19. So here's our next question. Do we have to serve all the specific components required for each meal? Yes. The meal components are all still required unless you just have absolutely exhausted every means possible to find that specific component. So if you've contacted 4 or 5 vendors and no one has anything in the red orange category, they're out of carrots, they're out of red peppers, they're out of sweet potatoes, they're out of everything possible, then you could skip that vegetable requirement. I hope we've answered that question. We know the meal pattern waiver has been the best and the worst waiver that has ever come out specifically for food service. They're laughing at me for saying that up here, but that as a state director, it's been the most difficult, and I would imagine being in a child nutrition director's shoes, it has been the worst. Okay, someone's asked SSO versus CACFP. We don't need to submit claims for CACFP separately since Seamless Summer covers 8. Okay, I'm gonna have to read this question again. We don't need to submit claims for CACFP separately since Seamless Summer covers 18 and under.
If you're serving meals with at-risk, on the at-risk program, so supper and a snack, let's say, and you're doing, those have to be claimed through the CACFP system. Seamless Summer meals are claimed through the Seamless Summer. CACFP at-risk are claimed through CACFP claim. just like you normally would. You cannot combine the two programs. They're separate programs, they're separate pots of money. How we pay them when I say pots of money.
Okay, sorry, that one just eluded me. When do our claims need to be turned in? They still need to be turned in a very timely manner. The quicker you get them in, the quicker they're going to be paying them. But again, like Jennifer said, make sure your school claims for the first 2 weeks of March is put in to your National School Lunch, School Breakfast claims. That your seamless summer that started for everyone March 23rd, because we had that week of spring break in there, that those seamless summer or summer feeding claims will not start till after then. All right, we'll keep looking. It says I have more questions. Please explain some options for procedures on a child not being present, neighbors or caring for neighbor's kid. Is this a daycare or guardian? I know that CACFP daycare is not allowed. Okay, well, first let's back up and talk about the daycare. Specifically, daycare's children, if their parent comes to your school to pick up a meal for, their kids, they can. You can't police if a daycare is bringing kids to your school to pick up meals. Now, they are not supposed to go back and claim them on their CACFP program, but they could pick up meals at your site. The parent waiver that was put out says a parent or guardian, and I guess if a neighbor is caring for the child, then they would be that particular guardian at that time. But that's where you're going to need your roster to make sure that the neighbor is not just picking up meals for, themselves or whatever. Because you still need to ensure program integrity.
And if kids aren't, and like you said, they need to take a name, first and last name.
Right. And make sure on your roster you have first and last names. And someone's asked, where do we find our agreement number? It's your county. Well,
Are you a school?
are you a school or are you a CACFP? The CACFP numbers start with a DC dash.
No, just put their school name.
Yeah, and in that system, if you just look up your site name, your school name, it comes up and it will tell you your agreement number. If you're a school, it's going to be your county district code. It's your, if you're county 01-IOO. What? Yeah. Parents might want free and reduced approval letters to help qualify for discounted utilities, internet, and deposit. That's a district decision. If you guys can get that for them, that's up to you guys, because we do not house. Oh, sorry,
You went too far.
I scanned my computer and it went crazy. But that's up to you guys. If you need to print those, if you need to process a new application at this point to put it in your system to get them a letter, that's up to the school.
Yeah.
That's something you might have to visit with your administration about, especially if you're not supposed to be in the school working, how you're going to do that. Okay, our next question, we are going grab and go. Students must be in the vehicle to receive each bag. When we are using the tally form given us, there's no need to keep a list. Correct. You do not have to apply for that parent waiver. So if your school district's just doing grab and go and it's working, the kids are coming with the parent in the car, picking up the meal, you're welcome to just use that tally form, keep that, and that's all we need. Just remember, schools do not have to opt into any of the waivers. The waivers are there for you if you so choose. If things are working, you're meeting meal patterns, you're meeting the parent pickup without having to waive that, then that is fine. Our next question is, will DHS, the WAVE, continue to update the direct cert list with newly enrolled families? That is a good
As far as we
question.
know.
Jennifer says, as far as we know, that is correct. They're still working and updating those files as they get them. Are we required to take temperatures of employees working?
That's a local district decision. It is highly recommended by Superintendent Hoffmeister.
Okay, Jennifer says, in case you didn't hear, that is highly recommended by Superintendent Hoffmeister that you are screening employees probably daily that come into work. I know the hospitals and other agencies that have people coming and going, they are screening employees and visitors. So that is not a bad idea, just to have maybe a sign-in sheet, initial that, you know, that person's temperature was taken and everything was safe. If we did May, June, Seamless Summer app at the same time as March 8, once you were notified we were approved, would that be for all months? I would still go back and contact that person who was working on my Seamless Summer app, because we were trying to get 1,000 some sites approved, and we were not looking at May and June and I was one working on some of those. We were trying to get them approved.
They should just double check. I think some of us have gone back and started working on them, and some of us maybe not have quite yet because we've been focusing on these first months. So go and look. If both months have gold locks, you need to open it all up and look. Don't trust what your checklist shows on when you first go into your CARS application. Go in there, open up both months, and if you got gold locks, then you're good. If not, then contact your person.
Okay, I'm kind of going to say that again, just in case you were having trouble hearing Cass. Go back into your May, June, make sure it has gold locks. If it's still showing green locks, and that you got to go past your checklist. And then when it comes up, the March, April, May, June, those two little boxes, go into that May, June one. If there's gold locks there, you're good. Your person has went back and approved those. If those locks are still green, or it is a check mark, the check mark means you have not certified. If it's a green lock, then it means you have certified, and I would go ahead and contact the person working on it so that we can go back in and get those months approved. We still have 14 more questions.
Oh, good.
Okay, so under summer feeding, can we send food home for a whole week's worth of meals?
Sorry, I'm going to take over on this one. Dana's got a tickle in her throat. Dana, which one were you on? I'm sorry. And okay, under summer feeding, can we send home a week's worth of meals at one time? Like we couldn't, yes, that covered, that is covered for both summer feeding and Seamless Summer. Yes. 5 days. Only 5 days. Harold, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Thanks. We're doing our best, just like everyone else out there. Nobody laughed at your question, Barbara. You're okay. We're all in this together. I'm just going down the list now. What do you do if your product does not arrive that morning and you still do not have a meal pattern waiver and we only get a truck a week? I would just, I would note that. It's potentially going to happen. I mean, we have to be realistic with some things as well. I would go ahead and note that, and then because production records still have to be maintained. None of the paperwork requirements have been waived at this point, and we're hearing that they won't be waived. But I would just note that and do the very best you can for that day's meal. Pick it and then get right back on track the next day or later that day if that was for breakfast and you're not sending 2 meals with them. Through SSO, will all students be considered free regardless of status during school? Yeah, Seamless Summer, all kids are fed free. That is not the same for the National School Lunch during the school year. But yes, Seamless Summer, the kids are fed free. The next one, do you claim the end of March as Seamless Summer, or do you wait till the end of April to claim March and April? No, you'll By month. You claim by month. March meals will go on Seamless Summer March. April meals will go on Seamless Summer April. Should we require masks? Whoops. I jumped too far. Hold on. Masks during. Oh, I've completely got off track. I'm sorry. Hold on. It jumped on me when it was about masks. Oh, I'm up too far now. Real credola.
Go back to about 10 after 1.
I'm sorry. Okay, there it is. Should we require masks to be worn during prep? I can't tell you yes and I can't tell you no, but I can tell you I would recommend it. It protects you all. It protects the food. Now, are you able to get masks? I'm not going to be able to answer that, but that would be an allowable cost with child nutrition funds for this purpose. Our bus route deliveries are increasing as time goes on. Well, that's good. Do you want a new map with addresses sent or just keep on file at a site? What do you think, Cassie?
I would say, as anything changes, reach out to the person who approved your application and we'll go in there and make note of it.
Give it a second.
So I would recommend it so we could keep it on file.
All right. Can we serve 5 days of meals if we were a 4-day school week? Yes. This is not tied to your actual school program. This is different. Okay, Jennifer, can you answer the question about monitoring?
What question specifically do you have on monitoring? You do have to still monitor your, we sent, upon approval, sent a 1 or 2 page SSO monitoring. That needs to be done at least the one time. So at your sites. But other than that, as far as SSO monitoring, I'm not aware.
They were wondering, I think, on the bus,
Okay, there must have been a question we missed. I apologize. Kendra's going back up to look for it. We'll come back to that one. Got another one.
Are we still required to monitor all our sites? If so, how do you monitor the bus routes?
The very absolute, how do you monitor your bus routes? If you have, a lot of schools are having a bus driver drive the bus and a child nutrition employee on the bus for the meal delivery when they hand them out. The person that's on there would be the best person to be able to do it. Some of those questions might be able to answer it a little bit ahead of time, and then some will be reflective of the actual meal service. That would be the best thing to do. If you have a better way, as long as it's being done, that would be fine as well. Where are we?
Only serve 5 days meals once per week to prevent overserving. Yeah, that's a great idea. If you're gonna, that's one way to help ensure integrity and accountability. If on, say, Tuesday or Monday, if you can get in and get everything prepped on Monday and serve out, 5 days worth of breakfasts and 5 days worth of lunches. Even on our USDA call, they were kind of recommending that because that's less exposure to everyone. Can you explain the difference between the seamless service for March through June versus the regular We have never done the regular summer feeding. We were thinking about doing it this summer in July and August. Is it different and more lengthy? Yes, the summer feeding program is basically through the Child and Adult Care Food Program. It's a little bit different meal pattern, and
Summer feeding's not through CACFP.
Oh, it's not. I'm sorry. I'm lying.
It's really its own program.
I'm telling you a story.
It's a good
I
one.
make things up every now and then. If you've ever been in some of my trainings, sometimes I kind of make things up and then have to go back and say, no, I just made that up. It's its own program, but its meal patterns are a little different than the regular National School Lunch or Seamless Summer. It's kind of confusing because we have Seamless Summer and then Summer Feeding. and they both feed kids during the summer. The summer food service program is a little bit more lengthy application. And the paperwork requirements that you have to send in, especially if you've never been on the program, you have to attend a training. None of those regulations have been waived at this time. If you're already doing the seamless summer, that can continue until school starts next year. All right. Can you repeat on giving out 5 days worth of meals? We're doing grab and go. Yes, you can do, and some schools I've even seen are giving out Monday and Tuesday meals on Monday, and then on Wednesday, they're giving out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday meals. That works. However, that works for you. You just can't give out meals to cover Saturday and Sunday. I missed the requirement on feeding a daycare. I have a daycare that calls in their account and sends in employees to pick up. That is perfectly fine. You can feed those daycare kids as long as they're between the ages of 1 and 18. You can feed any child. They do not have to be enrolled in your school. And what I was talking about is sometimes we've seen in the past that daycares go over and pick up meals and then come back and claim those meals under their program, which is not allowable. That's double dipping in the government funds. But you guys do not have to worry about that. You're just going to worry about feeding the kids. You're very welcome. We were hoping this would be informative, and with the looks of the questions and the attendees, great questions that we knew were coming. Some of these questions we've asked of USDA to try to help prepare for this. Can we serve canes? Are you talking about, Jim, are you talking about Cane's chicken? Are you talking about candy canes, or what kind of canes are you talking? Because if you're going to start serving Cane's chicken, I'm coming and eating.
Right. Me too.
Where are we
Canes.
going?
That's a typo, I bet. Where do we go to get canes?
Maybe you were talking about cans, like can of fruit. Yes. I would say that would be fine. If the can needs to be heated, you needed to send instructions. Okay. Jennifer just kind of talked about monitoring the bus routes. Can we serve foods like chicken noodle soup if you have a recipe or a product formulation statement or a CN label, so we know how much of it counts as a grain, how much of it meat and other vegetables that are in your soup would be fine. I don't think there is any way possible for me to do 5 days in a row. The amount of food and storing would be unrealistic. True, that could be a problem.
You don't have to.
You do not have to serve 5 whole days. You may want to break it down and serve
3 and 2.
3 and 2, 2 and 3. You may want to serve every day, whatever works best for your district. Do you discourage porch drop-off? I would not leave a meal on a porch for animals and other things to get into if no one's home. Plus the food safety in that aspect would come into play. Do we enter meals the same way we did during school? Do we enter meals? I'm not sure if you're talking about in your claim or in your system. For the seamless summer, you do not have to track names other than what we're asking you to track if you've done the parent waiver. So if you're putting them in your system, you do not have to have names to put in your system to get a count. If you give out 3 lunches and 3 breakfasts in one day, how do you claim them? Well, you would just, for that week, you would keep your sheet would say, I gave out 200 breakfasts and 200 lunches for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And that's your sheet would reflect that. PLE, good question. PLE, The PLE tool is listed in the CARS under other documents. You're welcome to go ahead and fill that in. We did not get to do the PLE webinar. We will look at getting that scheduled at some point. Right now, that was not high priority. If you were going to apply for an exemption, I would get my document together as of December 31st to get that sent in, because you guys are not going to have a positive balance after these couple of months and everything that's going on. Just had an email about instructions. Be sure to translate them into Spanish. I'm not sure what you're true. If you're putting instructions on your foods that you're sending out to be cooked and to be refrigerated, and you have especially high populations of other languages in your school district, make sure you are sending that out. That would be very, very good. I have a teacher from our district that gave me a list of kids' names and addresses. She comes by and picks them up and delivering them. Oh, I don't know about that one. I have a teacher from our district that has given me a list of names and addresses, and she comes by and picks them up. We'll have that discussion, and that may be in our frequently answered questions. If we have been on the Summer Food Service program before and may not switch from SSO, how will that affect us next year? It won't. You will still be in good standing, and just so everyone knows, this year is unprecedented. Cassie and I were having that conversation. How is this going to affect things for other programs that you apply for? We don't know yet. We just don't know. Can we go over the PLE waiver? PLE, if you had a positive balance as in your child nutrition account as of December 31st, you need to send that into our office, and that would exempt you from doing the PLE tool. That is still in good standing as far as we know at this point. Some other things questions have slowed down. Okay. We have a couple of things to kind of go over with you. I see a question on the fresh fruit and vegetable program. We've asked that question every day on our USDA call, and they've not been able to answer what we're going to do with the fresh fruit and vegetable program at this time. Also, the girls ask, if your DUNS number is about to expire, do not fax it to our office. We're working with a very minimum staff. Mostly it's just Jennifer here by herself, because we have all been instructed to be at home. You need to email that. You need to email that to the NSLP
We can type it.
website. I don't know it.
But she might be able to type it. Let Kendra type it in.
Kendra's
Or
gonna-
One of us can type it in.
We're
type it in
gonna
the chat.
type it in the chat box, so you guys will have it, and we will put that on our frequently asked question and answers.
Those that have already been faxed in over the last few days, I have been sending those to the appropriate people. But starting today forward, go ahead and put them in the email that we put on the chat box, please. Thank you.
Okay, and a couple other things we just want to bring to you guys' attention. We talked about production records need to be kept. Coding for the Seamless Summer program, because Seamless Summer is just a part of the National School Lunch Program. So you will code your breakfast expenditures to Project 764 and the other normal child nutrition codes. Your lunch will be coded to Project 763. One other thing we were going to talk about a little bit is some schools who were not 50%, and we did not go in and approve your application. If you kept your paperwork and you fed meals during this time, go back in, and send your consultant a note, or send the person that's working on your application a note that you kept your paperwork, and have a discussion with them. We will probably be able to let you claim those days, 2 weeks that you weren't approved. So we hope you kept your documentation.
One thing about that 50% site requirement that was waived yesterday, that is only good until June 30th of 2020. So keep in mind, some of the schools that want to do SSO or summer feeding, and they don't meet the 50% requirement, once again, it's effective until June 30th, 2020, or until expiration of the federally declared public health emergency, whichever is earlier. So come July, if they end that and everything's over July 1, and you're at a site that's not 50%, you cannot operate at that site. Just letting you know that. And Dana was just referring back to if you had paperwork for a site that didn't meet the 50%, you were serving there anyway because general fund was just going to cover it. It is fine to go back on those if the paperwork was maintained.
And yes, you repeat the codes. Breakfast project code is 764, and your lunch project code is 763. And then you would just use your other normal function and object codes.
You might
And
let them know Kendra did put that
okay,
up.
Kendra put it, and I think Gary made sure it went out to all the panelists and attendees. It's nslp@sde.ok.gov. Yeah.
Codes.
Okay,
Yes. Your
Yeah.
PLE exemption balance.
that your PLE exemption and your DUNS numbers can both go to that. Oh, PLE's different. Don't send.
Submission. We'll
don't-
send you that. It goes to submission.
It goes to
You're right.
submission, something another.
We will get that. We will get the submission. We will get the submission for the PLE on here as well. It is in CARS under profile and messaging, by the way, when we had sent out the PLE information. She repeated the codes. Okay, I think we might be caught up on questions.
I think we're about through, Jennifer.
We haven't had any new ones come in. Kendra just, I'm going to copy and paste that because that just went to the panelists. I'll add it to everybody. The PLE exemption balance goes to the web address, well, that I just put in there. cnp.data.submissions@sde.ok.gov. Nancy, we appreciate all you all are doing. Please let your ladies know out there that we thank them for what they're doing, and we know that you guys are getting good stuff out there for what you're doing, but we also have heard a lot of the bad stuff, trust me. There's a lot of complaints coming into our communications department that I'm fielding every day, and I'm absolutely blown away by some of the complaints out there. It really, we're hearing good things too, don't get me wrong, but those complaints, it just kind of breaks my heart. You know, you guys are absolutely being rock stars, doing everything you can to get the kids fed, and that's the most important thing, and we appreciate that. Please let your staff know that. And please continue to be safe. Dana, is there a code to use on snacks?
It's this, no. Not what snacks? Are you talking?
Well, you probably, if you're doing like breakfast and snack on SSO, it would be the after school snack code that's in the manual. I have it here. Let me.
I didn't look that code up.
That's okay. I got it. Let me get to it.
But we're about to finish up, and I see several are dropping off. I know you guys have other things to do. You guys are great. So we do have a question. So if meals to a parent and yes, you would want to keep some type of roster if you're doing the parent waiver. Okay,
Well, that would be local, sorry, right?
well, if you're,
It's still 760.
it's under 763. Your snacks under the after-school snack program, that's under the National School Lunch Program, is just 763. It's all lumped under the lunch. Breakfast has the different 764. All right, well, guys, we've been on about an hour. The questions have kind of run out. And I think that's probably Becky that says if they want to send the PLE directly to Becky Gray, if that's not Becky Gray, let us know. We won't give out your email on here, but your Becky Gray's email's out there. It's better to send it probably to the exemption or the submission one. Everyone, have a good day. We're going to end it now. Gary, we can go ahead and stop. Thank you guys very much.